please read the following warning. Now that you've been properly warned, let's move on to introduce today's topic. What's that? You have no idea what the warning sign said? Welcome to the world of illiteracy. Think about how you felt just now, not being able to read that sign. Now imagine this being your everyday reality, only the sign is written in plain English. This is a reality for 32 million Americans. That is 1 in every 7 adults. Hello, my name is Sabrina, and today I would like to introduce you to some of the effects of illiteracy on the quality of life in the USA. Over the next few minutes, I will go over what it means to be illiterate, the different degrees of illiteracy, and the impact illiteracy has on the quality of life. So what does it mean to be illiterate? The Merriam-Webster dictionary defines the word illiterate as someone having little or no education, especially unable to read or write. In talking about illiteracy issues, we apply this definition to a person's ability in their native language. Literacy affects the person's capability to understand and interact with the world they live in. When considering illiteracy, we also need to understand that there are different degrees to which a person may be unable to read or write. It is important that we understand that there are two categories of illiteracy: pure illiteracy and functional illiteracy. Pure illiteracy means having no ability whatsoever to read or write. It's not the most common form, but it's still estimated to claim about 7 million Americans. Functional illiteracy, on the other hand, is defined as having some skills in reading and writing, but overall these skills are inadequate for everyday living needs beyond a basic level. Tasks like filling out a job application or understand a medical prescription are some examples of everyday things a functional illiterate may have a hard time with. In his book, The Teaching of Reading and Writing, William S. Gray defined functional illiterates as people who could not meet independently the reading and writing demands placed on them. Now that you know what being illiterate means, think back at the sign I asked you to read at the beginning of the speech. Now imagine being at your doctor's office and being handed a form to fill out. It's terrifying. Just ask Toni Cordell-Siepel, who, in an interview with ABC News, admitted to the interviewer that she agreed to a hysterectomy without knowing it, simply because she could not understand the forms given to her. Now remember, 1 in 7 Americans live like this daily, and it has long-lasting effects on the quality of their life. In his article, The Silent Epidemic, The Health Effects of Illiteracy, Dr. Aaron N. Marcus talks about a 64-year-old patient with a history of noncompliance. This patient kept on presenting himself at the clinic where Dr. Marcus worked, with recurring or worsening symptoms, but was too ashamed to admit he could not read the prescription labels or the doctor's instructions, so he guessed. A lot of people who are illiterate avoid going to the doctors altogether, which can cause them to have poor health, and many others misuse drugs and end up with longer recovery times or worsening of their conditions. Another big effect of illiteracy is unemployment. Literacy Foundation's website lists the unemployment rate to be 2 to 4 times higher, and illiterate people often only have access to low-income, lower-quality jobs, leaving them in a precarious financial position. This becomes evident when we consider statistics showing that 70% of inmates have been found to be illiterate. A final aspect I would like you to consider is the social isolation that can derive from being illiterate. My own great aunt is a functional illiterate, but will never admit it as it embarrasses her and makes her feel inferior. Functioning in a world that revolves around written communication is hard and frustrating for her, and more than once she has had so-called friends take advantage of her. On one occasion, she had a friend help her pay the bills. She signed out the checks, trusting that this person had written them out to the proper companies. When the company sent a past due notice on her bills, she had no clue what the letters were about. She could not read them. When they finally cut her electricity in the middle of one of New England's winters, she called my mother for help. As it turned out, this person had written the checks out to herself and never paid my aunt's bills. Situations like these, unfortunately, happen and lead the person involved to lose faith in people and to isolate themselves. But to give you perhaps a more relatable scenario, think of being in a restaurant with friends or colleagues and not being able to read the menu. Not wanting to feel embarrassed, lots of illiterates simply choose to avoid these situations altogether. When reading a simple road sign feels like an impossible achievement, chances are you will end up not leaving your house that often and living in isolation and depression. Now let's go over the main points we covered. Today I have talked about what it means to be illiterate, the different degrees of illiteracy, and some of the effects being illiterate have on the quality of life for people in the U.S. Thank you all for your attention. I truly hope you leave this speech having gained some insight on the effects of illiteracy on a person's life. I would like to conclude with a quote from A. A. Milne, author of the beloved books The World of Winnie the Pooh. To the uneducated, an A is just 3 sticks.